They say everything is bigger in Texas, and the stakes are big tonight. Here for Season 2 of the Australian Online Gaming Fixed Indy Australia Series, round number 4 here at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. The first oval of the season is upon us after 3 road courses. We're here on the high banks of Texas Motor Speedway. Welcome to SimSpeed TV here tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. My name is Brady Baldwin. Alongside me tonight is David Haynes in the comms box, with Jade Kennedy behind the production chair, making all of it come to life. David, our first oval of the season, a whole new set of challenges for these drivers.
And it's a great track too, isn't it? 1.5 miles, some serious banking, some serious speed around here, and we'll zoom in on it. The second biggest state in the USA after Alaska, and even Alaska still smaller than the great state of Queensland. But in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the fourth largest metropolitan area in the US and the largest within Texas, you find this great speedway up in the northwest near Grapevine Lake. And it's had a little bit of a reconfiguration over the journey since it first opened in 1996, but it's always been very, very popular for stock car racing, but also open wheel racing, where there has been a couple of iffy races here, but a lot of really, really good racing here over the years. There you go, 2.4 kilometers around. They spend it at immense speed.
Yeah, drivers will be clocking about 350 kilometers an hour with no drafting assistance around their circuit. And look at the banking as well, David. 20 degrees in turn 1 and 2. Then you go to 3 and 4, 24 degrees of banking. So some serious banking around this track. These drivers will be carrying a lot of speed around this circuit, and certainly a massive challenge compared to what we've had through the first 3 rounds on the road courses. The drafting will be very, very big here, and the dirty air as well. So very much looking forward to this one as we look at our format for tonight. So currently drivers are in a 5-minute 2-lap solo qualifying session to set the grid for tonight's 150-lap race, or 80 minutes by time. Hopefully we don't have to get to that time limit. Hopefully we can race it out for the 150 laps, likely needing 2 pit stops for fuel. We're thinking about 50 laps a tank for fuel without any cautions, and obviously unlimited tyres tonight. So potentially, if you're at the back, you can take a gamble on some fresh set of tyres. And obviously, iRacing cautions in effect as well tonight. No tyre compound rule. Everyone will be on the 1 compound for tonight. And also no push to pass that we've seen through the first 3 rounds. So plenty of challenges for the drivers tonight, David.
Yeah, it's always a strategy game in Indy, but it's a very different strategy game to what it is on the road courses, where, like you say, you've got your different compounds to use. You've got your push to pass to either use or conserve, and use it to defend, use it to attack. No, it's a far more simple in terms of what kind of pieces you're playing with strategy game. But still, when you pit, when you don't, how much you value track position early on versus late in the race, super important.
It really is. And championship standings after the 3rd round 2 weeks ago at the Barber Motorsport Park sees Adam Blocker taking 2 wins from his 2 starts in the championship. It does not look like he will be in attendance tonight, so we will have a change at the top of the point standings. Thomas Hinz leading that battle in 2nd spot, with round 1 winner from Sebring, Daniel Edmonds, in 3rd. Only 1 point behind him is Tim Vaughan and Cameron Deans, the reigning champion from Season 1. Rounding out the top 5 with Tyson Broad, Bailey Evans, Rees-Mogg Jets, Harry Lawrence and Scott Rankin rounding out the top 10. One slip-up tonight could see a big change in the drivers' points here tonight. As we look also to the team's championship standings, we'll see Simrigs.com DPR leading that quite comfortably over Drop Bear Motorsport and Vermilion Motorsport in 3rd place there, and Adam Blocker in his own team in P5. So very impressive effort for him. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see him here tonight. So was really looking forward to see how he would go. He is very, very experienced IndyCar racer, and unfortunately it'll be an all Aussie battle here tonight, except for Atsushi Asafone from Japan. So look at the weather, 22 degrees in the air, 29 degree track temp. So a little bit warmer than what we've had on the road courses so far, and importantly a 19 km/h northwest wind as well, so that could play a bit of a part with how these cars handle, David.
Yeah, sun's out in Texas, and as you have a look down the back straight there, that's actually apartment building that overlooks the racetrack, and they've got a Texas-shaped swimming pool in that condo complex. So it all happens here at Texas Motor Speedway. There's a MCC-style members club over turn 1, and of course plenty of 40-foot, 45-foot RVs and camping all through, fans in the stands. Qualifying is done.
Yeah, like I said, David, everything is bigger in Texas, and off pole making a big statement here tonight. Cameron Dance taking out pole position by only 300ths of a second over James Glasspool. He will share the front row. Michael O'Brien and Scott Kozlowski will share row number 2. Row number 3 will be another DPR car. Well, actually 2 DPR cars. Christopher Island and Daniel Edmonds will share that third row. Timothy Vaughan for Vermilion Motorsports will start 7th alongside Full Send Motorsports' Greg Patrick. And rounding out the top 10 will be Matthew Bowler for ERT and another Simrigs.com DPR car of Ryan Jones. And starting 11th will be Joe Mahoney. In the 36 and the 52, second in the championship, Thomas Hinds will start position number 12. Scotty Rankin will start from 13th. Alongside him will be Reese Margett. Starting 15th will be Brody Shepard. Alongside him, another ERT machine of Lachlan Capel. Bo Albert starting from position number 17. Alongside him, Drop Bear Motorsports' Dylan Walker. Dean Jacobson and Ben Johnson will round out the top 20, and the remaining 4 cars on the grid will be Dwayne Burns, Tyson Broad, Harry Lawrence, and Associate Asafuni, the only guy not to get a qualifying lap in. We got about 3 more minutes of warm-up. David, these guys testing out the track one more time. The track temp has gone up to 36 degrees, so be a little bit warmer out there, a little bit more skatey, and with a bit more feel in the car, drivers will be adapting on the fly for how this car handles around this circuit.
Yeah, and in this warm-up, the track is mighty toasty. I don't think you can go quite that close. Either wheel out the spare car or kick kick Sargent out of his seat and take his car from that one in the warm-up. And when we move from the warm-up into the race, it might get even later in the evening. The Good Speedway has got lights, and that's why Lightning McQueen doesn't have headlights.
No, very much right. I don't think we'll be under any threat to be racing at night time today. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I think we should be pretty safe as drivers still ripping around. We still have just over 2 minutes remaining in this session. Scott Rankin, actually the quickest guy in warm-up so far with a 24.2. The fast one in qualifying was a 24.1, so we'll be doing about 4 laps a minute. So if we can stay green, this could be a very fast-paced race, David.
It's one of the quickest speedways there is. So quick it created problems for kart in 2001, where they were going so fast that the sustained G forces of 5.5 G on the drivers was too much. It wasn't safe. Around a 20-ish second lap, they were spending 16 seconds at maximum G loading. So it is super quick around here as far as 1.5 mile ovals go. And once you get to 2 mile, 2.5 mile speedways, then you're opening up the corners a little further, and you don't have those sustained G forces like a track like this does. So you do spend a lot of time, therefore, at big speed, leaning on the tires as well. On can be an abrasive enough track surface that even if it doesn't wear down your Firestones, it's going to heat them up.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be something that drivers will have to manage throughout the stint. Obviously, towards the end of the stint, if we get a long green flag run, we'll touch on around 50 laps for a tank of fuel. So if we manage to get a 40 to 50 green flag run throughout this race, we'll definitely see the tyre wear kicking in throughout this race. So it'll be interesting to see what drivers do if they potentially pit a little bit earlier before they run out of fuel to try and get a tyre advantage as well. So a lot to play out. I've never commentated on a oval IndyCar race before, so it's a whole new experience for me. I don't know about you, David, but I'm keen to learn all about it here tonight.
I've covered an Aussie car Skip Barber oval race that made it not even to the iRacing top 10, all the way to its own video post that got me lots of angry comments from Americans about my commentary on oval races. So let's keep that going.
Don't worry about the haters, David. It's all good. It's all good. I think I won one of those races back in the day too.
I thought you were about to say I was one of them. Like what? One of my haters?
No, I'm not that bad, David. Come on, I'm not that bad. But looks like that is the end of warm up for these drivers. So we will be not far away from starting this race. Safety car on an angle in pit lane. Driver's got about, looks like a minute to get on the grid. So we see already James Glasspool is starting from position number 2 already on the grid. So these drivers will be rolling out, and I presume will be going green flag racing straight away. So the intention will be right up straight away.
Right about now is when a B-2 Spirit bomber or a B-52 or something would fly over right as the singer hits the final note of the Star Spangled Banner. The Lone Star flag is the official flag of Texas. And they've got lots of other official state symbols.
Still waiting on a couple drivers to grid up. Looks like Cam Dance was one of them. Don't think we're too far away, David, from getting this one underway. But it looks like we're potentially missing one driver from the grid. It's Ryan Jones.
Just in time, I reckon. I think we've got him. He was the last driver to sit down, strap in.
Looks like potentially Ryan Jones might be starting from the pit lane to avoid any potential drama on that one, which, I mean, it's not too bad of a strategy. He was starting 10th, but he is sitting in the pit lane, as you just see him there. So potentially going for a safer option for the start of this race is Ryan Jones in the number 11. So we will have 23 cars to take the green flag, and then obviously Ryan Jones will join the race afterwards as the cars stream out onto the racetrack behind the iRacing safety car, with the reigning champion Cam Dance on that front row with James Glasspool. Orbit Motorsport versus DPR off the side. Michael O'Brien, he was impressive at Barber 2 weeks ago, put in a really solid drive. He is starting off position number 3, so a lot of big hitters in the mid-pack. Thomas Hinn, second in the championship. He's starting in position number 12 in this one. Bo Albert, not sure of his experience in the IndyCar, but I probably would have expected him a little bit further up. He's starting 17th, so it's a lot of guys to make their way through the field, but who really knows what this race has in store for us. It could be pretty wild from the start of it. It looks like the lights are potentially out on the pace car. We might be going green flag racing here at Texas Motor Speedway. The pace car pulls in. It is in control of the number 1 Orbit Motorsport machine of Cameron Dance, waiting for the green flag, and there it is. Cameron Dance gets us underway. Lap number 1 of 150 here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Great jump from him, but then everyone's got fresh tyres on. The draft around here is massive, and the half a second he's got right now will evaporate very, very quickly. Ryan Jones has made that pit lane stump.
Yes, Ryan Jones has now entered, coming off turn number 2, so he will rejoin the field as we get through lap number 1 nice and cleanly. So far, so good for these drivers. Currently, Cameron Dance still in the lead. Michael O'Brien now coming around the outside of James Glasspool, looking for second places. Look at the run from Scott Kozlowski on the outside to get past his teammate Daniel Edmonds. Now O'Brien now down the inside of James Glasspool for second spot. So a lot of toing and throwing so far in the early stages of this race. O'Brien now to second. And look at Kozlowski now all over his teammate for position number 3. It's 4 DPR cars, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th.
Speed as they approach turn 1 is something massive. You saw there's extra banking here through Speedway turns 3 and 4. You carry so much speed as a slingshot out onto the front straight, and then in the toe towards turn 1, hitting speeds over 360 k's an hour. We talked about, was Bo a little out of position in qualifying. Here he is around the outside trying to pick up some spots through turn 1.
Yeah, Bo Albert around the outside of Greg Patrick there, who's going to get swarmed by also Joe Mahoney and Tyson Board. So that's -3 positions for Patrick in that one little sequence. On board with him, the 77, struggling a little bit by the looks of it in behind Joe Mahoney, but like you said, Bo Albert already up 3 positions from that 17 starting spot into 14. Dyson Broad, who looked pretty pacey in practice, he started 22nd. Now he's challenging Bo Albert for 14th as we have a battle for the race lead. James Glasspool around the outside of Cameron Dance. They're going to be side by side coming off turn number 4, but the advantage of the high side for James Glasspool. He will net the race lead. And here comes Daniel Edmonds now fighting for second spot. There's a lot going on already, David. We're only on lap number 6, but drivers are already swapping positions, changing lines. There's a bottom line and a top line. And here comes Daniel Edmonds down the inside now of Cameron Dance for second.
In that big wide turn 1 and 2, they're all looking for clean air to get on their nose so they can carry speed through there without that washout that risks dragging you up towards the wall. And that's why they're running 3 lanes, 4 lanes around this particular section right at the start of the lap. There's so much real estate there. And yeah, they really do have 3, 4, 5 grooves through that part of the track. Less through 3 and 4 here where there's more banking. Through 1, it really is, it's dealer's choice in this game of Texas Hold'em. I don't know if Texas Hold'em has dealer's choice.
Dyson Broad already up 12 positions in this race, already into the top 10 from 22nd on the grid. And I just checked about 2 laps ago, Scott Rankin was about 13th. He's now up to 7th, challenging O'Brien for 6th on the outside. So a lot of 2 wide battles. There's 2 wide for the lead between Glasspool and Edmonds. Then between Ireland and Sislowski is also 2 wide. Now Rankin gets that spot on Michael O'Brien. They're going to still stay 2 wide, so we've got a top and bottom groove. Rankin probably the highest one on the track and running down the hill on the exit turn 2. He'll use that extra speed down the back straight, nearly hitting 360 kilometers an hour into turn number 3. He's going to stay high, but Cameron Dance looks like he's a little bit boxed in at the moment behind the DPR cars. He's racing 4 of them up front at the moment, so probably not an ideal position for Cameron Dance to be in this early on in the race, especially with those DPR cars in front of him. But he has to watch out now for Scotty Rankin, Lachlan Capel and Michael O'Brien in behind.
1 tyre compound, and it's lap 10 here, about the time they start wearing it down, start bringing the racetrack from 3 grooves, 4 grooves, down to 2 groove, eventually down to 1 groove. It is such a tight pack right now, and everyone is knowing that it's early, not wanting to get involved in any accident or anything like that early on. Eventually the tyres will start to wear out the way they're going at these high speeds, and the timing column can't hardly keep up. And now you kind of realise why NASCAR use the timing column that they do at Daytona.
Yeah, so much going on, David. It's really hard to keep up with how much is going on. But look at Scott Rankin down the inside, potentially going for the race lead here. Remember, he started back in 13th position. Scotty Rankin, he's already up to 3rd, potentially going for the race lead down the inside, using that side draft of that inside car of Daniel Edmonds. Rankin potentially to 2nd here. He looks like he's cleared Chris Island on the bottom of the racetrack. So Scotty Rankin looking really fast here early on, a fresh set of tyres, but will he be wearing them out too early in this stint? He's going to be side by side now off turn number 2 with Chris Island, who has pretty good drive through the middle of the racetrack. We'll go side by side with him into turn 3. Cameron Dance has dropped back now to position number 7, so our Paulson is struggling a little bit in the opening stages of this race.
I was just thinking for Rankin, down low against the apron, on the low line, in the dirty air behind the leader, with the throttle absolutely pinned, is a recipe for chewing up your tyres quickly, whereas what some of these other guys are doing is they just lift out of the throttle a little bit, take a line that is going to give them a little bit of clean air. That should preserve your tyres long into this run, and it is, I'll jinx it early, this is a decent run to start us off, now starting lap 15 of Green Flag Racing. This is where tyres take their punch. Look at Dance, he's just always looking for clean air on his nose, and stopped worrying about that track position pretty early on. There is hardly more than a car length to separate anyone from first all the way through the tail of the field at 23rd until you get to Ryan Jones in 24th, who's 10 seconds off the back of the pack and only 9 seconds away from going a lap down.
We see on the timing, there's less than a second covering the top 10 as Rankin goes to the inside and will take the race lead off turn number 2. Scotty Rattlegun Rankin into the race lead from position number 13. A big mover in this race. Tyson Broad, he's up 15 positions up into 7th, but we're 2 wide for second once again between the DPR teammates. This time it's Edmonds and Chris Island side by side. And then behind them, it's Glasspool and O'Brien side by side. And like you touched on, I've been watching Cam Dance. He's trying to find some clean air. Potentially, he will come on stronger later in this stint. As you see him making a move around Michael O'Brien, around the outside for Cameron Dance, and potentially looking for another spot with Daniel Edmonds. And now Chris Island probably look around the outside of Scotty Rankin for the end of lap number 17. We're flying through this race already, Dave, and we're staying green for the moment.
TXDOT, the Texas Department of Transportation, I think clearly looking over this race, seeing there's 3 lanes, there needs to be 4. Once there's 4 lanes, there needs to be 5. That's how it works in Texas. That's certainly how it's working through lanes in turns 1 and 2. The lead chopping and changing a fair bit. But Rankin's been one of the most aggressive up front here, so he's gained 12 positions in this race. Bo Albert's up 10, Tyson Broad's up 14. Those are your big movers so far as track position's concerned. How's the view on high, side by side for the race lead?
Still battling for that race lead is Scott Rankin and Chris Island. Island narrowed ahead through turn number 3, but Rankin will hold that inside line that got him to the race lead. Looks like that's his preferred line at the moment. With that clean air as well, he doesn't have to worry about chewing his tyres out that much. He has to try and set a pace now where he doesn't burn himself up. And now here comes Cameron Dance. He's up to position number 4. We've seen him drop back to about 7th or 8th. Saved his tyres a little.
Stole 5 positions around the outside of turn 1 there. Now he's 3rd.
Awesome.
He came from nowhere, man.
He's making moves early on, right from the back of the field. We touched on it. He was one of the fastest guys in open practice earlier on before qualifying. Obviously, he didn't get qualifying right. He is charged from pretty much the rear of the field. Now challenging for the race lead. We might potentially be 3 wide for the race lead. Look at Bo Albert as well, from nowhere as well. Up into position number 3. He passes Tyson Broad on the inside. So there's some big movers and shakers already in this race. We're already starting lap number 22 of this race, David. And now Tyson Broad back to the top side. We'll get that run around Bo Albert and he'll clear him for position number 3. But it looks like Rankin's preferring that lower groove at the moment.
I said Tyson Broad, 10 positions gained. We blinked and he gained 9 positions from there. I think we've reached a real tyre crossover here. The guys who rolled out of the throttle, rolled the high line around, kept clean air on their nose. They've suddenly got oodles and oodles of grip. Here goes Broad for it again. This is how he gained like 9 positions in 1 lap. He just goes around the outside of 1 and 2. Everyone who's going down low doesn't have the tyres to stick it there anymore. He's saved his. He's rolling it up high, and he's waited sort of 20 laps into this stint to just absolutely blow on past them. You can tell who has eaten up their Firestone rubber versus who spent 20 laps nurturing it.
Well, you can definitely tell by Tyson Broad. He was patient at the start. He's now gone to the race lead and looks like he's the fastest car on the racetrack at the moment as he goes side by side once again with Scott Rankin. We're probably about halfway through our predicted stint length on fuel, so drivers will start to think about that very soon. We do have some big moves and shakings. Obviously, we talked about Rankin 13th to 1st, Broad 22nd to 2nd, Bo Albert started 17th. He's up to position number 3. Greg Patrick, though, he started 8th. He's down in 21st. Matthew Bowler started 9th. He's down 5 spots. And Sislowski, who's really strong early on, he's down to 13th from 4. So a lot of movement throughout the field. Some guys going forward, some guys going backwards. We're nearly 4-way battle for the race scene, making nearly 5 with Daniel Edmonds. Rankin and Chris Island side by side once again. Rankin will switch to the higher line, try and get that run on the outside. I don't think he'll have enough momentum. He'll come side by side once again with Chris Island, and look at Tyson Broad on the extreme outside trying to make something happen here on the exit of turn number 4. But funnily enough, David, we're actually 26 laps green so far. This is some fantastic racing so far.
The field starts to spread just a little bit. I think there's the guys have been down low all the time seem to be struggling just a tiny bit. Last car in the train back from the leader, Atsushi Osafune in 23rd, is still just in the toe of Dean Jacobson, just in the toe of Greg Patrick, all the way up towards Bo Albert, Chris Island, Scott Rankin battling for the race lead right now. And the guys who've made the most positions, I just keep seeing them all the way up high in 1 and 2, using the extra banking up there, using the clean air, and just trying to save their tyres early on, paying dividends right here, right now.
Well, he's seen that big turn of speed from Tyson Broad, and now he's dropped back to 5th. So whether He's gone back to saving a little bit more tyres potentially. He's dropped off a little bit of speed in the last lap or so. He's now down to 6th, potentially now down to 7th. Timothy Vaughan down the inside. Now we see Bo Albert challenging for lead. Here comes Rankin down the inside as well. Big turn of speed from the 49 machine. Went from 3rd to 1st in a blink of an eye at the moment. So Rankin will lead lap number 29. Bo Albert now challenging Chris Island for 2nd. Island's been really the only guy that stayed up the front the entire race. We're nearly going to be 3 wide on the exit of turn number 2 for the race lead. Island back on the bottom. Crossover from Scotty Rankin. We'll use that side drafting. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead into turn number 3. Island runs Bo Albert a little bit wide on the entry of turn number 3. Very, very close to contact as well between Island and Albert. We're still 3 wide. This is a big one. There it is. There's the first big one.
Tell me Ireland is still within the stadium. Bo Albert cops a 2nd hit as they battle for the race lead. The two of them come together, brought out the first yellow of the race, just starting lap 31. And of course, the pack as it was, 23 cars in a train. One derails, a couple derail as well. And now I think Bo Albert's actually ended up on his lid and he needs to tow once the field's caught up behind the safety car. And this gives us the opportunity, of course, to look at the replay and also check the pit strategy. I think everyone is going to pit under yellow after 31 laps, but man, just a tiny bit of contact at those speeds, it goes wrong in an instant.
We'll definitely have a look at a replay when we can, but I've had a look myself. It looks like Bo actually caught a glance of the outside wall on the front straight, and unfortunately, just with how fast you're going, it rebounded down to the left. Unfortunately, got into the right rear corner of Chris Island's car. So, unfortunate for Bo, just a small little error on his part. Just glanced the wall. Wasn't even hard contacted in the wall. Unfortunately, that will be his race done. He is on his lid, but here we go. The first part of the pit strategy. Leader Scott Rankin into the pit lane. Timothy Vaughan, more importantly, staying out of this race. He was right at the front of the field too, but it looks like everyone else has gone into the pit lane. I'm just trying to see if anyone else has stayed out. No, it looks like just Timothy Vaughan has stayed out. So, bold strategy move already from the Vermilion Motorsport machine.
I struggle to see quite how that works, but for everyone who lost out through that, Joe Mahoney, Christopher Island, Bo Albert, the big winner is, of course, Ryan Jones, who now gets caught up with the pack. Spent that whole 30 laps unable to catch the leading group without a tow. He was isolated from them. Look at the race off of pit road. I have to tell exactly who has gained out of that, but Rankin, Edmonds, Dance, Broad will be the leading group behind Tim Vaughan. This is what brought out those yellows.
You can see going 3 wide on the front straight, and fortunately Bo just touches the wall right there, went straight into the side of Chris Island. If we can get potentially a slow-mo replay of behind Bo Albert, potentially to see him actually grade in the wall, I could see it on my end when I slowed it up. Very hard to see, but it's very minimal contact with that outside wall. Send him
and the
hard.
pace car hits him too.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for Albert. So unfortunately, we're 2 cars down in Christopher Island and Bo Albert. They had way too much damage to be able to continue out there, so they had to tow and they are out of the race. But is Timothy Vaughan now coming into the pit? So bit of a blunder, I think, for the 74 machine. Luckily for him, we're still under safety car, so he'll be at the back of the field, but he's lost all that track position. He was right near the front before that. So this is on board with Tyson Broad, so he'll get a bird's eye view of what's happening. I think there's going to be a very close call for him.
Some first-hand action, let's be honest.
He was right in there, but luckily for him, there is one fast repair, so he would have gone through the pits, got that fast repair. He's still position number 4 on circuit, Tyson Broad, and fresh set of tyres. So we'll be going green again very shortly. We did get 30 laps green though, David, which is a lot more than honestly what I expected.
Yeah, I'm looking up and down the tyres right now. Everyone took tyres. Timothy Vaughan, though, he's a 1 pace lap fresher than everyone else's from the very, very tail of the field. 22 cars still in this one with 34 of 150 laps completed.
Still a long way to go in this race, about 116 laps remaining. So if we can get another green flag run like that, really good to see. I'll I was hoping we might have seen some green flag pit stops for that first stint, but
I'm thinking that I'd like just one round of green flag stops in this race if we can get it, because that would be very interesting. And it was obvious at this point, okay, we're 30 laps into a 50 lap run, we've got a caution, tires, and you want fresh tires when you can pass like this, because someone who's on 30 lap old tires versus someone who's on fresh tires, you could go from 23rd to the lead in 2 laps. You just have so much more grip. So are we in agreement that Bo's up high 3 wide and he just tags the wall a little bit, bounces him down, and unfortunately tags the rear quarter of the other driver?
Yeah, it definitely looks like that, and wasn't really that much of a hit, but when you're doing nearly 360 kilometers an hour, it wouldn't take much of a contact to change your direction of the car, and unfortunately his race will be over along Chris Island as well. Actually, no. So it looks like they've actually been granted permission to go back on track, but they will be 2 laps down for Island, 3 laps down for Bose. So I thought that it was if you tow, you're done, but it's not. So it's actually good that those guys are back out, but they will need a few cautions to potentially get a wave around and get back on the lead lap. As Chris Island actually... Yeah, Chris Island's actually had a drama on the back straight. So the car just completely spun out on its own. So potential hardware issue there for Chris Island. He's missing our front wing now as well. So bit of a weird moment there for the 23. The car just snapped right on him really hard. So I'm sure he'll have to come to the pits to get that repaired, because he is missing part of the front wing. This is the replay of it. David, just come down the back straight and then gets on the gas by the looks, and looks like he just snaps hard right. Coming up in a second.
Yeah, that's never happened in Texas before. Yeah, no, that clutch? Was he clutch coasting and then he re-engaged the clutch and it locked up the rears?
It potentially could have done that as well.
Because, your gears are so tall on an oval setup like this. Your first gear is monumentally tall, so it's possible he starts approaching the back of the pack, brings the clutch in, he revs it up a tiny bit or whatever, and then when he releases the clutch, and it locks up his rears, spins up his rears and does that. Otherwise, yeah, it'd have to be a hardware failure if it wasn't a misuse of the clutch.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's actually stayed out as well with no front wing. He's not going to have a very nice time going into the turn 1, so probably the guy that'll have to watch out for it is the guy behind him, Bo Albert, in the 06. Well, I'm sure being told the information that, or actually seen it, that he doesn't have a front wing on one side, as safety car does have its lights out, David. So we'll be going green flag racing, this time by single file restarts here. With Scotty Rankin in the 49 leading the race. Never thought I'd say that in my lifetime, but we got Daniel Emmons in second, Cameron Dance in position number 3. Pace car is off the circuit. Scotty Rankin sitting at 90 kilometers an hour and gets on the gas, and we're green flag racing once again. Start lap number 37 here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Fred, the safety car driver, has done his job. Now Barney, the flag man, does his and sends us racing once again at Texas Motor Speedway. Everyone's on fresh tyres again. It's going to look like that race start once again, I think. 3 lanes, 4 lanes, 5 lanes in turn 1. Once they get up to racing speed, they get up to 360 kilometers an hour, and the draft at those speeds does its thing and bunches us together.
It looks like a challenge already for the race lead. Daniel Edmonds on the outside of Scott Rankin, but the outside groove did not work on the entry of turn number 1 there. Rankin will hold position in first place, but a really solid run, and in the draft as well from Edmonds will get him to his right rear through turn number 3 on the exit of 4. Very close side-by-side action between the two drivers, still side drafting between them both. Looks like Rankin will lead the lap by 9 thousandths of a second, that time by nothing in it. Cam Dan still in third, side-by-side for 4th between Thomas Hinds, who I really haven't spoken about all night long, and Tyson Broad. Those guys are battling side-by-side for 4th, as there's a little bit of a gap behind them to O'Brien, Capel and Glasspool, but still side-by-side for the race lead. Edmonds and Rankin still going at it, absolutely nothing between them. They're Scott's right rear and Daniel Edmonds' left rear, absolutely nothing. in between there, David. Very, very close racing. Rankin will still lead the lap as we start lap number 40.
I like this strategy though. Pull to the high side, use the clean air up high, save the tyres, then down the front straight, down the back straight, pull into the toe, close right back up, squeeze the other guy down to the low line, and 20, 30 laps, their front right will be begging enough. As they do this, the rest of the field starts to close in, but off of that single file start, the field has been more sprayed initially, and the driver who's relishing being back in a racing conditions, I think, is Ryan Jones, because this is his first time now going wheel to wheel, having spent the entire first stint in no man's land.
Yeah, definitely a blessing for Ryan Jones to catch up back to the field. Chris Olin just come through the pits to get his front wing repaired. He's going to come out very, very close to where the race leaders are. He's only just coming up to speed now, so might be a bit of an awkward time for these race leaders approaching Chris Olin. Remember, he is still 3 laps down in this race, so have to be very careful when the leaders come up to him. Tyson Broad comfortably in fourth now, over Thomas Hens and now James Clarspool and Michael O'Brien. They're closing in for that battle for 4th position. Tyson Broad on his familiar high side where we've seen him all race long. Look at the speed that Tyson Broad has down the inside of Cameron Dance for 3rd.
Oh, he's so exciting to watch in these circumstances, and he's picking lines that others aren't, and he's got confidence around Texas Motor Speedway that others don't seem to have. And early on, it's good. Like Cam Dance is taking a similar line right now, but it was once we got to sort of lap 20, 25 that he really came into his own. So if you expect we're going to go green long, it's the work you do right now, turning in from up high, lifting out of the throttle a tiny bit before you turn in, and then getting to full throttle later on, that'll save your tyres. And when if we do get a long green flag run, then suddenly you're in a position where you look like Superman, and everyone else does not.
Yeah, and one interesting thing to note, David, that we have observed, the track time's actually gone down quite a bit since the start of this race. We started about 35-degree track temp, and we're currently at 30 degrees. Even though the air temp has gone up, the track temp has gone down, so that will probably be helping with the tyre wear as well, and probably get a little bit more life out of them and extend the life of those tyres. We've seen them starting to drop off through that first green flag run. Guys have only been on track for green flag racing about 6 laps now, so it's still on fairly fresh tyres, and the leaders are now quite close to the back of Chris Olin, who came out of the pits and got his car repaired, so potentially a little bit of dirty air coming up now for race leader Scotty Rankin. Looks like it's settled down a little bit in behind as Tyson Broad now looks on the outside of Daniel Edmonds. So that's for position number 2. Had a quick look around the outside, didn't quite have enough momentum to get anything done, but now Edmonds tries to look around the outside, potentially trying to get out of that dirty air of Rankin, who's potentially getting that dirty air of Chris Olin out in front. Look at Broad down the inside. Edmonds, I think, got in the wall there. He's slowing right down. Tyson Broad slingshotted by through to second, potentially challenging for the race lead now.
That looked like a pretty big hit on the wall outside of turn 2 there for Edmonds, who's still going. To my surprise, I'll be honest, I really thought that'd knock your toe out, and maybe you keep going, but it hurts your stability, it hurts your tyre wear, maybe it just puts a bit too much toe to the rear, and at these speeds the heat builds up and then it starts to cook your outside rear. We'll see. At the worst, it'll dent your confidence.
Yeah, this is the onboard now of Edmonds. I think he just got that dirty air of Rankin. Look at the push.
That he unbanks late on in the corner, like a lot of these tracks do, and just suckers you in. Yeah,
my experience with off-camber circles on the top of the racetracks, a lot in dirt races as well. A lot of tracks are like that. We have progressive banking until the top where it drops off, and it's very sketchy if you get up there. So imagine it doing it 360 kilometers an hour like these guys are doing. Yeah, it's not a good time whatsoever. So fortunately, Edmonds still in the race. Unfortunately, though, he's dropped to P number 7. Doesn't look like too much damage on that car. So we have a yellow in the background. I'm trying to pick up who it was. It's James Glasspool. Is that a big one on the back straight?
There is a lot of damage on that car. It will get going under its own power, which is good because it'll clear this yellow quickly, but we'll take a look at what caused it from 3rd place.
Looks like he's just lost the rear. It just
We'll have to wait 20 seconds to find out the truth, but I think we've got plenty of time underneath this yellow, waiting for the pits to open and the field to compress.
Yeah, just having a look at it now, David. We'll see it in probably 10 seconds' time. He just loses the rear coming off turn number 2. Potentially, I'm not sure if it's dirty air, potentially from broad in front. Lose the rear. Big accident. And look at the avoidance of all the other drivers. That's very impressive for everyone to avoid him because he was flying into the path of the whole field, as we see guys already stacking up, potentially coming to pit road, David. So we've only done about 10 laps through this stint. So looks like everyone once again coming in with the unlimited tyre sets in this race. But he's probably silly not to come through the pits, trying to see if anyone potentially stays out. I don't think Timothy Vaughan will stay out this time by. He probably learnt his lesson from that last safety car. Looks like Bo Albert, Chris Island will stay out to get their laps back, and Greg Patrick will also stay out as well. So
the pits probably aren't even open for them as well. They kind of probably, if you're a lap down, aren't the pits not open for you right now?
Yes, that is correct. We've just been told, but Greg Patrick was on the lead lap and he has stayed out. So interesting call for the 77. Potentially he's thinking, we've only done about 10 laps. Maybe we'll just stay out, try and get track position and try and make something happen. But the race off pit road, Scotty Rankin still in the lead, Dance second, Broad third, Hins fourth, O'Brien fifth. So not much of a change coming off pit road.
There's a couple of times that race off a pit lane camera could get some use. Taking a look from Mike O'Brien's perspective.
Wow.
That is O'Brien.
That was very, very close. A bit of a pucker up moment there for the 45 of
Here's the advice that I've had and I will always follow. If there's a spinning car that you're trying to avoid, look at their rear... Oh, he did get hit. He did actually. He gets away with it though. Look at their rear crash structure. Look at their rear attenuator. Look at their rear wheels. And if you aim for that, then you won't hit them. Because if they're out of control with understeer, then they'll push on past where they are right now, and you'll go behind them. And if they're out of control with oversteer, then the rear of the car in a quarter of a second won't be where it is right now, so it won't be there anymore.
It was a very interesting take, David.
Aim for the rear wheels or just behind the rear wheels, and you'll never hit anyone. Another
interesting note, Daniel Edmonds from 6 Spot has come down pit road again. So whether he had potentially an issue in the first pit stop or he's topping up a little bit more fuel. He's not in the pit. He was only in the pit box probably 2 to 3 seconds. So potentially topping up on some fuel, Daniel Edmonds. So could prove a master stroke later on in the race. We'll have to see. He comes out now behind or around Joe Mahoney. So about the back of the top 20. In 20th actually for Daniel Edmonds. So we'll see how that plays out later on for him. Take a little bit more fuel. We'll have to take a little bit less in the next stop potentially, but we still got a long way to go. We just under 100 laps left in this race.
Yes, right now 54 of 150. Fastest lap of the race still belonging to Tyson Broad, who will have kept it absolutely pinned, follow a good line, and had a monumental tow to set the 23.9 that he did. Everyone else is sort of 24.1, 24.2. Joe Mahoney's got a 23.952 though that he picked up. But I was watching as we went through the green flag run what kind of pace the leader was setting, and it went 24.2, 24.3 around about there. And if it goes green longer, I'll wonder and wait and see if your race leader starts dropping off a couple more tenths. There is the 1 lap back that these guys, Bo Albert and Christopher Island, get. So Island will be and Albert will both be hoping for 2 more cautions at a minimum. You and I both still have our fingers crossed for a green flag run.
Well, looks like at the moment only Bo has gone that wave round. So
is it a lucky dog, not a complete wave?
Whether it's either a lucky dog or because Island's in behind the leader potentially. I'd probably lean more towards the lucky dog in effect. So now Bo will be only 1 lap down when he rejoins the field. Island's still 3 laps down. But more importantly, the 77 of Greg Patrick will lead us away from this green flag restart. Chris Island lines up second, but he's 3 laps down, so he is not in this race. So It's going to be very awkward for the likes of Scotty Rankin, Cameron Dans, Tyson Broad, Thomas Hinds, Michael O'Brien. They're your corrected top 5. Those guys are going to have to deal with Christopher Island, who is 3 laps down, and Greg Patrick's on 10 lap older tyres than them. So it's going to be a very hairy restart, I think, David.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be very, very instructive because, yeah, Greg Patrick's tyres are 20 laps older than Scott Rankin's and Cameron Dance's and everyone else's. And the extent to which they can just drive around him will let us know if the tyres really are dropping off or if everyone's just taking the stop at every caution for the sake of the fuel. Green flag, let's go racing again. 95 laps to go at Texas.
Very slow getaway from Greg Patrick. Bunches the field up. This is not good, but Cameron Dance goes straight around the outside. Took advantage of that slow restart from Greg Patrick and would take the race lead from Scotty Rankin. You see Patrick already dropping to about 7th or 8th position. Chris Olin trying to stay on the high line, trying to stay out of the way. Remember, he is 3 laps down. He is not in this fight. Cameron Dance will lead the first lap under green flag, but Scotty Rankin now right there on his outside. 2 wide behind them with Tyson Broad and Thomas Hinds. Another 2 wide behind them with Island and Sislowski, but Island is those laps down. So be interesting to see how all this plays out. Looks like Island's actually trying to potentially get his laps back. He's raced past Tyson Broad, now trying to come past Thomas Hinds, and Scotty Rankin once again will take the race lead from Cameron Dance to finish lap number 57.
Now, Ireland doesn't quite have the tyres for this, I don't think, but yeah, what a boxed in, hacked up restart that we had. It's leading to some chaos, it's leading to some more chaos. We're going to go yellow again.
There's another. There it is, Matthew Bowler. Looks like it's actually a few cars involved by the looks of it. Looks like Bowler actually got in the fence, pretty similar to how Bo Albert got in the fence. Come hard left into his teammate, actually. Lachlan Capel's involved, and looks like also Dwayne Burns also involved as well. So 3 cars in that accident. Unfortunately, he only got a few laps in there. Green flag.
Half shaft there as well, so he's 1-wheel drive, but it looks like the broken suspension means the rear tyre that doesn't have any weight on it is the only one left driven. This is how he washed out wide. He came down into a couple other cars as well after that. Really committed around the outside of 1 and 2, but 2 committed. Just as it unbanks late on in the corner, the wall comes out to meet you as well.
It's pretty comical to see at the moment Matthew Bowler in reverse heading to the pit lane to get the fast repair of, I don't think I've really ever seen that.
Is
before.
reversing on a pit lane considered a safe pit entry?
I mean, he's in the pit lane speed limit, so, I mean...
I can't tell if he's got a black flag because he's got a meatball flag already waving on him, so if this works...
Tyson Broad also in the pit lane too, David, so going from the top 3 into the pit lane to top up on fuel...
Crazy to think that if anyone else has ever tried this before, it's probably Bowler.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, I'll say that.
It's unique. I respect the grind because that thing was going nowhere forward. It was just spinning up one tyre, looping around. The suspension damage meant he wasn't getting anywhere going forward. So how about I get somewhere going backwards?
He's actually somehow made it into his pit box with a bit of jiggery, forwards and backwards. He's got that car repaired, and he will be back out on circuit in a jiffy. So I don't think he's going to be he is 1 lap down. So potentially, we've just been told we might get manual wave rounds for the drivers multiple laps down. So yeah, potentially we'll see those guys a lap down. Now to the back of the field, we're on lap 60 now, so roughly 90 laps to go. Unfortunately, we've had our 3rd caution. All we're wanting, David, is a nice long green flag run, and we quite haven't had that yet.
Yeah, the start was very promising, but we're rapidly approaching this point where they can get fuel to the end. Everyone gets racier, and then the cautions can breed caution. So I'd love a 50-lap green flag run now, and that would take us very deep into this race. Well,
off the numbers that we were predicting and what we were told pre-race, At the moment, if we did stay green to the end, which would be pretty incredible, we only need one more pit stop in this race to get to the end. Provisional live standings in the top right, Thomas Hinds will take the championship lead. Obviously, championship leader Adam Blocker not in attendance tonight. Cameron Dance will move to provisional second. Timothy Vaughan in third. Adam Blocker will still remain fourth, which is incredible, considering he's only done 2 of the 4 rounds. And Scott Rankin in his current position will be up to 5th. So right in there with his good result. Rankin at the back of the top 10 in the points leading in. If he holds on to this race win, he'll be right up in the point standings leaving Texas tonight.
So as we get ready to go racing again, another look at your big position gainers. Scott Rankin with 12 plus 12. Harry Lawrence with plus 13. So he's now up to 10th. Ryan Jones is 8th. But it doesn't count as positions gained for him because it's from where he qualified, not from where he started the race, and he forfeited all of that with the pit lane start. But he's now up into the 8th position.
So technically Ryan Jones would be the higher charges, just iRacing doesn't recognise it, but we can still recognise it, David. He started 24th, now up to 8th. So,
we don't have to.
We don't have to. We definitely don't have to, but we can if we're nice enough. Chris Island does get a wave around the pace car, so does Bo Albert. So they'll put Bo now 1 lap down from the field. Chris Island will be 2 laps down, so they'll be praying for more cautions, but we're not. We want to see some long green flag runs here to see who can come out on top. We're just under 90 laps remaining in this race. Scotty Rankin's been very, very good so far, starting from 13th. Got to the lead pretty early, and he stayed up front for the first 60 laps of this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes on a potential really long run. Obviously, Dance is very strong in whatever he does, and Thomas Hinds moving his way forward into third as well. We spoke earlier, he hasn't really been a factor much of the race, but he's now in the top 3.
Bit of race control happening as we get ready to get racing again. So Bowler wasn't waved around because he caused the caution, and Broad gets sent end of line because he didn't follow race directions instructions as far as the pit entry. Entered pits off of turn 4 rather than taking the apron before turn 3.
Yeah, so that was the time where he came down the second time, Tyson Broad, when he followed Bowler in going in reverse. So just watching it back now, obviously they did make the rule that you've got to follow the apron as we green flag racing once again out in front. Scotty Rankin still leading us over Cameron Dance. Look at the speed shots. They had absolutely incredible speed, over 350 kilometers an hour. These Indy cars. Three-way battle now for the lead. Thomas Hinds has skipped away a little bit from Sislowski in 4th. Scotty Rankin holding his own at the moment for this race lead.
Things go sideways at 190 kilometers an hour. It feels very, very quick. These speeds are just absolutely something else at Texas Motor Speedway. Scott Rankin from the lead at the restart there, spreading them out. Michael O'Brien picks up the fastest lap of the race, so track cooling off. A good little tow back there in 6th as a gap forms between 6th and 7th. And O'Brien, 23.813, absolutely mental speed there. As can we get a top 6 breakaway, or can Ryan Jones, Tim Vaughan, and Harry Lawrence bridge the gap?
I think the group behind Jones, Vaughan, Lawrence, they'll have to try and work together a little bit to try and catch that lead pack, because they're a fair ways off at the moment, about 1.5 seconds back to that group, which is quite a bit in these cars as Hinge runs a little bit wide. He was in 3rd just a moment ago, ran a little bit wide, got a little bit tight, and now he's already back to 6th. So that's how quickly it can change in these cars. Thomas Hinge was looking really good, one little mistake. He's down 3 positions side by side now for position number 3 between the teammates Kozlowski and Reese Margetts. Margetts will push through to 3rd, and now Michael O'Brien will stick his nose around the outside of Kozlowski. They'll be side by side through the back straight. And here comes Margetts now, battling Cameron Diaz for 2nd. The real only guarantee that we look like having at the moment is we have another caution on the speedway, trying to pick up who it is. potentially. It's Lachlan Capel, the number 80 team machine.
So he's around on the front straight, through the grass, without a lot of visible damage on the car. The left rear is askew, and shortly we'll find out why that is. We're 3 wide. Oh, someone else is off. Ooh. Was not clear to the inside by a very, very, very tiny margin. Might have thought he was.
Yeah, it looks like Cable sort of bounced around in dirty air there. 3 wide coming off turn 4, and looks like he tried to get back to the bottom, and unfortunately Brody Shepherd in the 55 was there. Contact was made, seeing him spinning around, and Brody Shepherd now has a damaged front wing, so he'll have to come to the pits and get that car fixed as the leader's coming around turn number 4. Looks like we've seen someone peel off, and it's Ryan Jones has peeled off, and he'll be coming to the pit lane, this time by for a top-up of fuel. So is Dylan Walker coming to the pits. Jacobson, Mahoney also, and Brady Shepherd obviously to fix that damage. So there's bets 6 cars coming into the pits now to get a top-up of fuel, fresh set of tyres, and try and work their way back through the field.
It's always interesting, what is that sort of little crossover point, how long into a stint before the drivers go, yep, this caution is worth it, taking the fuel, taking the tyres. So Jones, Mahoney, Shepherd, Walker, Jacobson, Osafune, and of course Lachlan Capel forced in. Christopher Ireland is in. I think he tried to stay out in the last caution, didn't quite get the benefit. He's after, and now he's going to pit again. It's always so interesting though, on an oval like this, with a package like this, in the fixed setup, fixed downforce levels. Is it the tyres or is it the fuel driving the strategy right now? Because if we keep getting cautions and we go time certain, then the fuel could drive the strategy. If you think, hey, that's my last stop and now I'll just stay out, or is there a really, really big performance difference to new tyres where, you know, on a 5 laps to go restart, could you go from 10th just around the outside of everyone to the race lead if you had, say, just 10 laps fresher tyres? It's I don't think we've really seen enough of a split, drivers who've stayed out versus drivers who took tyres, to see how vulnerable 20, 30 lap old tyres are.
Well, we did see it runs. Remember when Greg Patrick led us to green, and he went back to about 8th spot in 1 lap on 20 lap older tyres, I believe. So it's probably not ideal to be on older tyres. If we do come to that, we do have just over 35 minutes left in this race. At the moment, with being on lap 71, if we have 1 or 2 more cautions, we're potentially looking at a time certain race set to 1 hour and 20 minutes. So hopefully we can stay green the rest of the way and can actually finish the 150 lap distance where tyres and fuel will come into play. But if we are going time certain, I think fuel will probably be the answer, because it would be a lot harder for drivers to judge if they're going off a time certain race more than a lap. So if we do go that time certain, it's going to be another challenge for these drivers to work out how much fuel they need to make it to the end.
And the pace difference racing to under caution is insane. 24 seconds for a lap in race conditions. Behind the safety car here, it's 1:35. So it inflates it just ridiculously, and you can see how that eats into the clock without eating through the laps. And you can look at time remaining now instead of the laps. Green from here to the end would still be a tough go.
Yeah, it would be probably pretty touch and go to make the 150 lap distance from here. We're just under halfway laps wise. We just started lap 72 here, so we'll be starting
like
the race once
minutes
again.
Race pace is like 70 laps, so that's where we're at.
It's going to be very, very close to making that 150. We might be just short or pretty much right on it. So Matthew Bowler, Bo Albert, Lachlan Capel, and Chris Holland all get wave around. So now Bowler and Albert, they'll be back on the lead lap of this race. Capel and Ireland, they're probably praying for one more caution to try and get back on the lead lap to keep their race intact. But the lights are out on the iRacing pace car. Scotty Rankin once again will lead us to green to lap number 73. 33 minutes remaining in this race. I would say, David, if we have one more caution, we are 100% going time certain in this one. I hope not. I really want a long green flag run to see what these cars do after 30, 40, 50 laps on a set of tyres. But the iRacing pace car about to pull in off the Texas Motor Speedway in turn number 4. It is now in the pit lane and the field is at the hands of Scotty Rankin. He gets on the accelerator. We're green flag racing once again here at Texas.
There is a bit of a check-up deeper in the pack, even if the front of the pack gets spread out very well from Scott Rankin, Cam Dance, Reese Marget's race start. And there is, to the tail of your leading group, Ireland and Capel getting to the tail of it, still a lap down. A couple of drivers that were laps down, though, have gotten back onto the lead lap. So Bo Albert from 3 laps down, back onto the lead lap as they all work up towards speed, doing 350, 360 k's an hour, and again now.
Back up the front, Reese Margetts has moved into second spot and challenging Rankin on the inside for that race lead now. He's trying to get that little bit of slipstream in behind the 49 of Rankin. Looking for a move down the inside, but Rankin's holding the inside pretty nicely, placing his car really well to try and hold off Margetts in the 110 machine. They're going to be side by side into turn number 1. Rankin again on that preferred bottom groove. Gets really good drive off the corner there. On board with Scott Szlowski now in position number 5. He's under the rear wing of the 45 of Michael O'Brien. Currently sitting right behind Cameron Dance, who's holding the last spot on the podium at the moment. Ahead, Margetts and Rankin still side by side for the race lead. Absolutely nothing. We just clicked over half race distance lap-wise. 31 minutes remaining in this race, but at the moment we're still clean and green off this restart.
Bit of work with the gears, back and forth through 5th and 6th, pulling out of the toe, maybe shedding a little bit of speed when you're tucked up underneath someone and being fed all that dirty air. Your top 6 are again a little bit of a breakaway before you look to Harry Lawrence, Tim Vaughan and James Glasspool in 7th. The top 6 are using up all of the road as well, from down low all the way to the ZZ top.
Looks like now Margetts and O'Brien now to 1 and 2 in this race. I think Scott Rankin's trying to play the long game. He's not trying to fight him too hard. He's now gone back to the top groove. So he's staying out of the dirty air, potentially saving his tyres a little bit. Push on for a late stint push as he comes around the outside, side by side on the exit with Michael O'Brien. He's going to have the mile an hour down the back straight with a little bit of side draft assistance as well. And still side by side. O'Brien gets really good drive off the bottom mid-corner and will stay in front for now. But I like what Rankin's doing. I think he's been a little bit more patient playing the long game here. As it looks like Margetts is pushing on really hard early in this stint. He's still taking the race lead now. Szlowski into 3rd over Scott Rankin.
A lot more drivers going way higher through 1 and 2 as the race goes on. They've seen other drivers do it, save tyres, make performance doing that. And a little bit of movement through the kinks on the front straight, the back straight. Absolutely plumb direct line.
We said about 2 moments ago, David, that the top 6 were a breakaway, but now look at Lawrence, Glasspool and Vaughan. They're right in this battle now, and Daniel Edmonds in 10th, not far away either. So in a moment's time, it's probably going to be a 10-car battle for the race lead here. Margetts leads another lap once again. He's on the bottom, Rankin on the top. Looks like Szlowski and O'Brien through the middle, so it's going to be a very hectic fight. If we can stay green here, this is going to be an awesome battle for the race lead. Margetts holding his own at the moment, but I believe someone like Rankin, who's running a different line, saving his tyres, that top line will come back in for him. We've seen it earlier on in the race. Potentially might see again very shortly.
Yeah, the top line's doing good stuff for the drivers already, where they can get some clean air there and not wash out on the exit. So they can keep it pinned on the exit from up high already in these conditions. And then as we go on longer, just having that clean air on the nose, the tyre saving will be very, very valuable. Top 11 together, and then Benjamin Johnson in 12th. The next group, your leading group, it just feels like 100 race cars.
It really does. It was only about 5 or 6 cars not long ago, and now it's 10, and even Broad not far behind in it either. So 1.2 seconds separating the top 11. Seeing a few exchanges for the race lead between Rankin and Marjet. Seen Rankin had that mega run down the inside into turn 3 about a lap ago. He's now gone back to the outside. Marjet's on the bottom. Cam Dancer's searching up high as well. Timothy Vaughan, he's come back into this fight as well after that pit lane strategic error, we might call it, earlier on in the race. He's back now into 6th spot on that bottom side, and Rankin once again takes the race lead on the outside, but Marjet's holding that inside. Some fantastic 2-wide action here at Texas, David.
3 lanes, 4 lanes, 5 lanes in turns 1 and 2. The yellow's out once again. It's not from our leading group. It's from Benjamin Johnson.
Bo Albert involved too.
Albert in the second group. There was a second group in 12th, 13th, 14th, and these guys were up the front of it.
Looks like Bo Albert entered the corner in behind Johnson. Potentially Johnson slid up a bit more than what Albert expected, or Albert had the toe and just carried too much speed into the corner. Unfortunately got into the left rear of Johnson into turn. We'll see our Bola Media replay. I think just Bo carried too much speed into the corner and sort of lost track of where Johnson was. Unfortunately, Johnson's blown an engine, so he's going to be out of this race. Be interesting to see. Looks like everyone's coming to the pit lane. So we've only got 26 minutes remaining. So I'd say that they probably should be okay on fuel from here on out.
Yeah, this feels like get you to the end territory, doesn't it? And that's why whether it's a road course or an oval, once you reach that critical, we can stop from here and get to the end, you want to make that stop as soon as possible, so you're not left exposed.
Ryan Jones staying out, David. So is Joe Mahoney there on the lead lap. So looks like they're the only 2 that have stayed out.
But
so
they were the only ones that stopped last caution, weren't they?
I believe Jones did, yes. So he's not on as bad tyres, but...
So that's where they look clever, though, is that they stopped last caution when no one else did. Now this one, they go and stay out, and if... we see what they can do.
Well, if we get a few cautions, if we lose more minutes on the clock, and they may be able to hold some track position here, but it'd be very interesting. Obviously, Chris Island's at the head of the queue at the moment, but he's still 1 lap down, so he will get that waiver, and so will Lachlan Capel. Ben Johnson has towed from the race, and Bo Albert, he'll be out of the race too with that damage. So back down to 22 cars on track. Ryan Jones and Mahoney will be the guys to watch. They'll be our race leaders off this restart on slightly older tyres. So be interesting to see how they play out with the likes of Marjet's, Rankin, O'Brien. We see they pit on lap number 69, so they've done 18 laps.
Nice.
Caution and green flag laps there as well. Dwayne Burns as well. He pitted on lap 59, so he's definitely got the oldest tyres, but he just pitted then under that caution. So long run there for Dwayne Burns on that set of tyres. So we'll see how it goes for Jones and Mahoney. It could prove a masterstroke, or it could might not end well for him, but I like the bold strategy play either way.
Augusta Masters is on soon if you're looking for some master strokes. But I think we're a long way away from chipping this one in, even with the almost certainty of time certainty looming. It's 24 minutes to go, and if we get 24 green minutes of racing, it'll be awesome. But if we get, 2 more cautions, that'll eat up the whole clock, and no one knows how it's, whether we get that or we don't. So you have to make your moves, so it increases the likelihood of cautions. So you have to make your moves, and there's a couple of racing categories where that kind of happens. F3 and F2 constantly. That's a problem that irks me.
Yeah, 100%. Just Super 2 as well. All these time zone races are not the best in my opinion. Unfortunately, tonight.
Right, and so you know that a safety car will end it. So you have to make your moves. So everyone has to make their moves. So a safety car definitely happens and ends it.
very, very much on the cards that we do end it on a safety car. I really hope we don't. But
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. I'm just saying that's my general gripe with a bunch of time certain categories and a bunch of the way that some series are officiated, that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of everyone makes stupid moves and we don't get to go racing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do agree. Hopefully we don't have that tonight. Hopefully we can race out these last 22 minutes green and see what everyone's got. Obviously, remember, Jones and Mahoney did not pit under this safety car. They're on 18, well, now they're on 20 lap old tyres compared to Margets and Rankin, who have done only 2 pacing laps on their tyres. So it's going to be very interesting off this restart. We've seen Scotty Rankin be pretty good on restart so far. Margets was really aggressive off that last safety car restart, got to the race lead, and now he'll line up position number 3. We'll see how Ryan Jones conducts this restart, if he'll leave it really late like Greg Patrick decided to do, or he'll go off turn number 4 in the conventional spot. So David's still a lot to play out, just under 22 minutes remaining in this race, and the top 2 on older tyres, so it's going to be very, very interesting.
I think as the leader, the earlier you go, the more it benefits you, and the earlier you go, the more it stretches the pack out, the less likely that we immediately go into another yellow. So Ryan Jones is leading us from Mahoney, from Reese Margets. Anytime now, there we go.
Green flag racing once again. Look at the gap that Jones has already over Joe Mahoney. He's stretched it out 7/10 of a second already. So he's going to be happy with that, Ryan Jones. He's going to try and get as much of a gap as he can. Look at Marget's already all over the back of Joe Mahoney. Here comes Rankin as well. Michael O'Brien with the triple toe down the back straight. And also Scott Szlowski around the outside. Mahoney's already back to 3rd. Here comes Rankin on the inside of Mahoney now, side by side, across the start finish line. Rankin will move to 3rd. Michael O'Brien through the grass. Very lucky to hang on to that. We're 3 wide through turn number 2. O'Brien, Mahoney, and Szlowski. And unfortunately for Joe Mahoney, he's falling back through the field. He'll drop down to about 7th now if he gets done by Timothy Vaughan. And also Cameron Dan's in behind him as well. But Scotty Rankin, his lead is now vanished. It's down to 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, just watching Mahoney here, like those old tyres, you can see it because he's getting eaten up, whether it's, you know, way up high or down low. They'll go wherever he doesn't go.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mahoney's not much he can really do at the moment. He's doing the best he can to try and hold these guys off, but those older tyres are certainly not helping him, as now Ryan Jones under a lot of pressure right now. 2 DPR teammates, Scotty Rankin in there as well. Jones will lead that lap, but Marget's now on the outside. Will he get that run off turn number 2? He'll stay on the outside. A little bit of side draft now for Marget's. He's going to try and push the race lead side by side. Behind them is also Rankin and Szlowski, O'Brien, Vaughan, Dance all in there. Now Thomas Hinds, James Glasspool and Daniel Edmonds are fighting into this battle. So we're going to have 11 cars once again in this lead pack. Not far behind them is Lawrence and Walker in 12th and 13th. They got a little bit of ground to make up, but still Ryan Jones hanging on to this race lead on the bottom side of the racetrack. We're 19.5 minutes left in this race. We're on lap number 94, so I'm pretty sure we'll be going time setting this one side by side once again for the race lead. Jones will just lead that lap by 1/1000th of a second over his teammate Margett, who's still trying to make that outside work.
Yeah, the old tyres down low are still doing okay for him when he's got clean air on his nose, but if someone else got in front of him, I think that's when he'd have to check the throttle a little bit to keep the car in line, and then he'd start getting absolutely swallowed up by everyone else who can keep it flat chat. And if someone gets to the inside of him at turn 1, it could become a big problem for Ryan Jones very quickly, but he's still down low, flat out, clean air on his nose, and he can keep that up right up until they start forcing him off his preferred line or someone starts feeding him some dirty air.
It looks like Rankin really wants to get to the inside, but Jones is fast enough down there that he's holding his own. Here comes Timothy Vaughan now side by side with Rankin for third. Looks like Margetts might have a go around the outside, but Jones is holding his speed really well down the bottom. I'm surprised he hasn't been swallowed up quite yet by his teammate, but here comes Margetts now with a fast run, and here comes Rankin as well, potentially 3 wide for the race lead in 3 and 4. Rankin still trying to hold around the outside. He's not going to get the move done. Margetts potentially will lead that lap. He does by 0.02 of a second. Nothing in it. The top 13 separated by half a second that lap time by. And it's still Ryan Jones out in front on the inside. Margetts on the outside. Here comes Rankin. Vaughan right in as well. 3 wide behind them with Dan, Seslowski and O'Brien. This is a massive battle pack forming. Unfortunately, I see some drama coming very, very soon because these guys... Oh, Rankin's got damage, I think, David. I think he bounced off that wall and he's got some damage on the front wing.
There could be a couple of cars. We stay green for the moment. There's a bit more contact. We stay green. There's debris out there, but everyone is pointing, nose ahead of tail, and we stay green. Ryan Jones, exit of every corner. He drops down to the low line. Won't let anyone get to the inside of him, and that's what's keeping him in this. If anyone got a run and got to the inside of him, I think his boost is cooked on the tyre differential. 17 laps to everyone else around. It is a miracle we are still green, as the checkup behind him is ferocious. It's consistently 3 lanes from the pack behind, and it's so tough when you're the meat in that sandwich at 360 kilometers an hour.
That front wing we seen flying, that was Daniel Edmonds, so that was contact with Scott Rankin on the exit of turn number 2. So Edmonds, unfortunately, our round 1 winner, falling through the field at the moment. It looks like, and also Scott Seslowski with damage as well. He's come into the pit lane, so 2 of the DPR cars sporting damage on the front wing, so they're going to be struggling. So, actually, I do apologise. It was Seslowski, not Daniel Edmonds. So apologies to Daniel. He's still riding this fight in amongst the top 10, but we're still side by side for the race lead. Ryan Jones still hanging on for this lead now. Timothy Vaughan, he's been pretty good on that low side by side between O'Brien and Danstill and Rankin. After that, unfortunately, a little bit of contact with Seslowski on the exit of turn number 2. He's now down in 6th, but I think he's got a lot more pace to burn. We've got 16 minutes left in this one. Still a lot to play out, David.
Earlier I said the race leaders were doing 24.3s. They're doing 24.5s, 24.6s right now. The way that Ryan Jones is leading them, the way that guys push to the outside line but can't get around him, and it remains too wide but unbroken for the lead. No slingshot happening. Just Ryan Jones' clean air pace is what everyone else is forced to do. And it brings the whole field. It's 1 second down to 15th place right now. Disaster feeling imminent with 15 minutes to go. But the tyres are now starting to wear out. Everyone forced around these high lines.
And more impressively, Ryan Jones still hanging on to the lead, David. He's doing a very impressive job out in front. He's on that bottom line, which to me, it looks like seems to be the fastest line. But unfortunately for someone like Timothy Vaughan, who's stuck behind him, it's not much he can do when he's constantly got a car on his outside, as he does with Cameron Dance at the moment. So, looks like it's going to be very hard to get any position. With 4 wide on the exit of turn number 2. Scotty Rankin, he jumped a few positions there. He fell back on the entry of the corner, made it up on the exit. He now goes to position number 5. Matthew Bowler, he was in an accident earlier. He's now up to position number 6. So some big movers late in this race. We're starting lap number 106. More importantly, just over 14 and a half minutes remaining in this race. So it's getting down to crunch time now for these drivers.
Jones and Margetts are the all-you-can-eat buffet, feeding them all dirty air, but Cameron Dance says, I'm not having any of that now. He's looking the 3rd lane, up high, trying to get some clean air, trying to be the one to lead the pack around the teammates who have been side-by-side for the lead for multiple laps now. He's just keeping it in, up high, finding some clean air, and then hoping that that middle lane causes the tyres to run out for Margetts, but it's not happening yet.
Looks like Margetts is actually placing his car very well at the moment to try and create a little bit of dirty air for the cars in behind him. It's very hard to hold the outside on the exit of the corner. So
24.7, that's the pace we're doing now.
So we've dropped off about half a second what we're doing earlier in the race. So that's probably from a lot of battling. And look at Rankin now to second, side by side with Reece Margetts. Rankin's really come out of nowhere. It's P5 about a lap go. There's a little bit of side by side contact now with Margetts. They'll hold Margetts up a little bit. They'll allow Timothy Vaughan now in position number 2. But here comes Rankin now. Can he make a push for the race lead?
Well, he gets to the middle of the teammates. He causes a little bit of the breakup here. He sees that maybe he can get around, lead some others around towards the race lead. Jones with clean air on his nose is doing a lot with that low side. You'll eat your tyres up taking the low side if you're in the dirty air, but with clean air, I think you can make it happen for an extended time. The amount of downforce on these cars is way more than you'd run, I think, in an open setup. Everyone's running the same downforce, and it leads to racing like it's bit of smoke, bit of contact to slide, but we stay green. No one spins out, no one hits the wall.
It was Reese Margetts running the middle of the lane. Looks like there was actually rear-end contact from his teammate James Glasspool and upset the rear of Margetts' car. So he lost a lot of position throughout that little scuffle. Michael O'Brien just came over the radio. I think he's got a little bit of spotting bit of damage. He's down to 15th now. So fortunately O'Brien's going to be out of contention for this one. But Ryan Jones still hanging on for that race lead. Cameron Dance now into position number 2. Can he mount a late charge onto Ryan Jones? Side by side, looks like Raikkonen's dropped off just a little bit. Is he potentially cooling those tyres down to potentially make a late push in this race?
Ryan Jones still leading with Dance in second alongside Vaughan at the moment. And Jones has been very, very tactical here. There's so many cars behind him that he gives the slipstream to the low line down the back straight, and then he moves to give it to the high line. He doesn't let one car slipstream him the whole length of the back straight, because if they get a good run, if one car gets a good run, they'll eat him up. But because it's 2 wide, 3 wide behind him, none of them get a solid run at him. And he's playing, bachelor to the bachelorette here.
It's very smart driving from Jones to hold the lead for this long on older tyres. It's remarkable. Talk about Joe Mahoney. He's down in 9th. He's not really out of it either. But he lost a lot of position straight off that restart. Jones has been pretty comfortable in front as Timothy Vaughan now challenging on the outside of Ryan Jones. The first guy to actually make a move around the outside of Jones. Now Vaughan goes to the bottom. He will clear him. Timothy Vaughan will now lead this race. 11 minutes remaining in this one. And now will this open the can up for everyone else to try and make a move on Jones. Timothy Vaughan will lead lap number 114, start of lap 115, just under 11 minutes in this race. Dance and Rankin still searching high, trying to get to the bottom of the podium.
25 lap green flag run. Ryan Jones now to 45 laps since he last pitted. So if it stays green, I don't think his fuel gets him to the end. He was being, up front, maybe praying, fingers crossed subtly for a caution, but green to the end, and Ryan Jones's goose is cooked here. Not just the tyres starting to run out, but I just don't think he has the fuel. If we get 10 more flat-out minutes like this, I don't want to jinx it, but I do want 10 more flat-out minutes. These other guys get to the low side of him, and that's where I think he starts to get into trouble. Vaughan leading, Jones more exposed, can't move across the lanes like he was doing earlier, just playing them off each other so that he always ended up with that house advantage.
Here comes Rankin on the inside as well, but Jones had a really good run through the middle, and now Jones back in behind Vaughan, trying to look for the race lead once again. Looks like Rankin was really good on the entry of turn number 1 there, but lost a lot of speed on the exit. Dropped back to 4th, and now he's under attack once again from Daniel Edmonds. Dance now trying to make a move on Ryan Jones, but Ryan Jones not out of it yet. He's staying right with Timothy Vaughan through that middle lane. We've seen the bottom being used by Vaughan, middle lane by Jones, and Dan's right up high. So we'll see how it plays out. 9.5 minutes left in this race. Still a lot to play out. Still a lot of laps left in this one. Timothy Vaughan, though, doing a really good job out in front, holding onto this lead.
Jones can stay in this if he keeps getting clean air through the corners and tow through the straights. But the moment he has to wait in line behind someone through the corners, I think those older tyres are going to show up. But he's staying in it in second for the moment and being very clever, very tactical. There he goes again. The tow down the straight, the clean air through the corners, into the tow down the straight again.
It's a good strategy from Jones just to try and extend the life of the tyres, as we have Ireland now back in the pits once again. With the DPR machines, he's been at his struggles all night tonight, but Scotty Rankin, Hinds, and Glasspool 3 wide for a moment on the exit of turn number 2. That's for 5th, 6th, and 7th on the road. Edmonds back into 4th now. Nice recovery drive from Edmonds. He was a little bit of trouble earlier on. Cameron Dance patiently sitting in 3rd place. I think he's biding his time. Still 8.5 minutes left on the board. A lot of racing. left in this one, and Ryan Jones still pressuring Timothy Vaughan for that race lead.
Yeah, absolutely, he is. It's 1 second now, just down to 7th place as they start to spread out a little bit. You get some 3 wide in the background, a shot here, but I just don't think that there's 4, 5 lanes like there once was. You can fan out, so long as you get clean air, you can get your throttle pinned, but the drivers behind can't follow in the dirty air through the corners quite like how they used to be able to.
Yeah, 100%. We see Jones still manoeuvring on that back straight, trying to potentially get something done on Timothy Vaughan. Vaughan's very good on that bottom groove of the racetrack where Jones was very strong. Jones missed it just a little bit, allowed Vaughan down the inside. We're still nearly 3 wide for the race lead. Dance is still committed to that higher groove, switches to the middle on the exit. He's staying right with Jones, getting a little bit of slipstream assistance as well. But I don't think Dance is quite out of it yet. I think he's going to be very well placed in the remaining half of this race. Scott Rankin as well, still in 4th. Glasspool now into 5th. 6-car train up in front for the race lead. And Walker and Edmund 7th and 8th. They're not far out of it either.
So many drivers that have a chance to take victory here based on what they got. And here's Ryan Jones. He's got to pit. He hasn't had the caution that he was hoping for. 54 laps into this, and he doesn't have the fuel to make it to the end. He makes a green flag stop, and if he had had a caution come out a minute ago, he might have been able to make it, but he didn't, so he can't. So it's Vaughan, Dance, Rankin, Glasspool, Hinds, Walker, Edmonds as your leading group of 7. And I think if it stays green to the end, they do have the fuel to make it. Only just, though.
It's unfortunate for Jones. He was in a really good spot. Would have liked to see him coming from the pit lane start.
Broad in the wall, but he keeps the nose in front of the tail, so we stay green for the moment. He's riding the outside. Bowler's got big problems.
I think this might be a caution. Has not thrown it yet. Can he?
He hasn't spun out, so I think we stay green. As long as he doesn't spin out.
He'll have to get off the racing line, though. Looks like he's right to the inside on the back straight, so he might be all right. And drivers have been warned to stay green. We're side by side for second now between Dance and Rankin. They're closing in on Timothy Vaughan using that slipstream of Vaughan. There's Matt Bowl on the bottom of the screen, so we should be staying green here. Just under 6 minutes remaining, and Cameron Dance is mounting his charge now for the race win.
Basically a 7-horse race at the moment, and with laps under caution being about a minute and a half, we're rapidly reaching the point where yellow ends at Glasspool so hard into the wall, brings out the yellow. Does that end it?
I think it might.
Turned under yellow and he's not happy about it.
Yeah. Damn, that looks like Cameron Jans just came out of the radio and he said everyone was going to be extremely tight on field, so he might have had a pretty wild finish coming up there, but by the looks of it, we might just finish under caution, which is a massive shame. We were praying, David, we were praying and hoping that we could finish under green flag, but 5 minutes remaining, unless the admins and race control can take away the laps under this caution so we can potentially get 1 or 2 laps in, would be awesome. This is the bolometer replay of Glasspool. Looks like he just had a big push and slide off turn number 2. We've seen that a few times tonight. And in the fence for Glasspool, running in the top 5 at the time. So
would help Ryan Jones if he did that like 10 laps ago.
Yeah, not a good strategy there from DPR. Is Rankin going to the pit lane? He is.
Yes. Okay. Okay, interesting strategy. So if we get, like 2 green laps, the drivers that are staying out, everyone else, their tyres are 42 laps old. So if we go green, even for 2 laps, I think you can eat them up. I think you can easily eat up positions. This is the yellow had been called, and then Capel slows up for the yellow and feels like he's been drilled as they passed the scene of the accident.
So Rankin looks like comes in, quick tyre change,
it's
back
a dramatic
out.
Angle, but the wrong one to see if if Capel slammed on the brakes or if he just got drilled by someone who decided to do 360 Ks through a yellow.
So this is on board Ben Johnson, who was the car behind Lachlan Capel. looks like Capel slows. Yes. Unfortunately, just didn't slow him down. Trying to listen to.
It all happened so quickly at 360 k's an hour, though. Like the yellow came out, the car was spun that Capel could see, and he checked up for it, and the driver behind lifted out of the throttle but didn't step on the brakes, and drove through him as it was. So look at this after the pit stops.
So Rankin in 10th, leader of the guys that have pitted. I was just listening to race control while you're speaking there, David. So we're going green next time by. Was called by race controller Dan Yeaman. He said the leaders will be going green on lap 131, which is what we're coming to right now. So I suspect the laps will be cut on this caution. Everyone will be gridded up. What can Scott Rankin do from position number 10? Will he have enough tyre to potentially make something happen from that far back? Timothy Vaughan leads us from Cameron Dance, Thomas Hinds in third, Edmonds, Walker. Walker's really been nowhere all race, now in the top 5. Dwayne Burns, Margetts, Broad, Shepherd, then back to Rankin in 10th. So the lights are out on the pace car. We have 2 minutes remaining about now, so we'll probably say a minute and a half when we go green. So we're probably thinking 3-4 laps potentially, David. So not long in this race. Very interested to see what Rankin can do. I'm probably suspecting a massive high side move, fresh tyres, and go for the Hail Mary move.
Like, if there's a minute 15, we get 4 laps. If there's a minute 30, we might get 5. There's a chance we get a couple. The tyres on 1st through to 9th are the oldest we have seen all race, 44 laps old for all of them. We had that really long extended green flag run where all of them were eating up Ryan Jones and Margett's dirty air. No one has had older tyres than what the top 8 have got, while Scott Rankin sits in 9th. No worries on fuel. Fresh tyres to go. It's all in his hands, and we've got 3 more.
3 laps. So Dwayne Burns got an end-of-line penalty for a pit entry procedure. We're going green once again. Timothy Vaughan will lead us away, but the one man to watch will be Scotty Rankin on that fresh set of time from P9. Unfortunately for him, he's a fair way back, 2.5 seconds off this restart. I don't think he'll be able to make up that much time in just 3 laps. Out in front, Timothy Vaughan and Cameron Dance. They'll be going at it side by side. We're going to have, I think this will be 2 laps to go this time by. We're just over 40 seconds remaining. Side by side for the race lead. Dance will lead it that lap by just 1/100th of a second. Side by side for the race lead. Hinds in third, trying to stick his nose in there. Scotty Rankin, he's not making anything happen. Harry Lawrence has actually passed him for position number 9, but it's out in front for the race lead between Timothy Vaughan, Cameron Dance, Thomas Hinds right there as well, potentially getting the white flag this time by Barney gets the white flag out. 1 lap to go here at Texas between Timothy Vaughan, Cameron Dance, Thomas Hinds right there as well, potentially 3 wide into turn 1. Dance on the top, Vaughan on the bottom. Dance will get the run down the back straight with the toe. Will he go for the high side move on the final corner, side by side into the final corner? Vaughan on the bottom, Dance on the top. Who will get it at the line? Side by side, it's going to be Timothy Vaughan, I think. It is Vaughan by 1/100th of a second, 11 thousandths of a second. Timothy Vaughan for Vermilion Motorsports wins here at Texas.
3 wide photo finish, top 3 covered by less than 1/10 of a second. Guys on the new tyres not quite able to make the progress they hoped. They needed 1-2 more laps. Best of them was Harry Lawrence, who got up to 8th. And in that last dash right at the end, Vaughan holds on. Dance made him fight for all he's worth, and Thomas Hinds thought he might have had a chance at a little nibble at it. And they were 3 wide as Barney waved the checker.
Very impressive finish, even though we only got a few laps there. The unfortunate for guys like Rankin, who was in contention all race long, got that. Look at that photo finish. Absolutely nothing in it. 44 1,000ths of a second between the top 3. Fantastic finish to this wild, wild race, David.
Everything's bigger in Texas except the finishing margins. I think it's fair to say on that one. Tim Vaughan, in the end, it was a tough fight, but it is Vaughan's supremacy. Played by Matt Damon.
Look at the finish here on the Bowling Media replay. slowed right down. Thought Dans might have had a chance on the outside, but that bottom groove, which we've seen all race long, be pretty strong. And Timothy Vaughan, by nothing, gets the victory there. Round number 4, the first oval of the season here at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll go through our finishing results from a dramatic race. 134 laps completed, not quite the 150, but Timothy Vaughan will win it by virtually nothing over Cameron Dans in second. Thomas Hind will round out our podium. Daniel Edmonds, our round 1 winner, will finish in 4th. Dylan Walker into a top 5 starting position. Tyson Broad, a nice recovery from him. We've seen his early pace come back from a bit of damage. He will finish in 6th. Reese Margets, he was leading a fair few laps tonight as well. He will finish in 7th. Harry Lawrence pitted under that last safety car. Got a few spots at the end. Will finish position number 8. Brody Shepherd finishing in 9th. And Joey Mahoney rounding out the top 10. Only 2.5 seconds covering that top 10, David.
Yep, really, really close finish with that short dash to the green. Scott Rankin, surprisingly dropping back a little bit off the restart. Maybe a little too heavy on the fuel. We won't know. Atsushi Osafune also pitted late under that final caution. Did gain a couple of positions to that 12th. Scott Zaslowski, Dean Jacobson, Ryan Jones. Sorry, I just didn't think people needed to hear that ambulance. Greg Patrick, Chris Island, Dwayne Burns, Michael O'Brien, and Lachlan Capel to 20th. First car lap down, so 19 finishes on the lead lap, and then kind of into the tales of woe from Capel to Glasspool, Bowler, Johnson, and Albert in the end. 48 laps of retirement. Used up the fast repair early on and then got into a second incident that really ended his day in Texas.
Yeah, unfortunate for those guys caught up in early incidents, but that's just the part of oval racing we see in these Indy cars. As looks like we got our podium finishes in for a chat here tonight. We'll firstly grab our race winner, Timothy Vaughan. A fantastic run through the field. Started in position number 7 in this race, did Timothy. Worked his way to the front later on in the race and held on for a fantastic victory. Side-by-side photo finish there with Cameron Dans. Timothy Vaughan, congratulations on the win, mate. What a crazy grandstand finish that was.
Oh, yeah, that was very intense. At some point, it looked pretty certain I was going time certain. The race was going time certain, so I was just trying to make sure I was up the front. And the caution flew, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it on fuel, but then also with the caution, P2 just gets a good run on you off the green flag, so I wasn't sure if I was happy, but definitely am now. You can sort of just hug the bottom there and keep speed really well most of the time. Last lap, I sort of almost stuffed it. I ran a bit deep into turn 1 and sort of washed up the track a little bit, but thankfully I was just able to hang on.
How tight were you going to be on fuel if it wasn't for that last caution where got word that it was going to be pretty tight on fuel? How tight were you going to be if it wasn't for that last caution there?
To be honest, I didn't calculate it quite as thoroughly as perhaps I should have. I was just, the product of running 330 kilometers an hour the whole time with guys on the right side, 1 foot behind you. So I wasn't really taking too much time to look at my relative, but I think I may not have made it considering I was leading and using a bit more fuel. So probably thankful that that caution flew.
We've obviously started off the season with 3 road courses, and then we come to a fast oval where you're doing 360, 370 kilometers an hour. So what was the biggest challenge for you tonight after coming off those road courses, obviously coming to a fast oval?
It's just the proximity you're in with other cars the whole time. It's really trying to stay out of trouble for the first half of the race, and especially with how practice went, it looked like we're going to have a caution every 5 laps. So I was just sort of trying to keep the car clean, and then eventually it sort of seemed like the racing was, not settling down, but at least keeping clean well enough. And so I sort of tried to move my way up a little bit at that point. Also saving the tires, trying to keep the tires alive to give you a little bit more 20, 30, 40 laps into a stint.
Well, we go to a polar opposite track in 2 weeks' time for the next round. We will be at Spa-Francorchamps for the next round. Any expectations heading into that one?
I mean, it's Spa. Everybody's probably done about 10,000 laps each there, so it'll be a track everybody's familiar with. Not a favorite necessarily, but hopefully I can still able to run good and see how we go.
Well, once again, congratulations on the win tonight, Tim. I believe also you've taken the provisional championship lead as well. So congratulations for that as well. But before we let you go, any sponsors you would like to thank?
I just want to thank the Vermilion Motorsports guys. Thanks to our partners, Burb, Berlin Motor Group, Moser, etc. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to everybody else for driving tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Congratulations once again, Tim, and hopefully we can speak to you next time out at Spa.
Cool. Thank you very much.
There is Timothy Vaughan, our race winner here tonight. And David, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher, Cameron Dans.
Yeah, second place by 0.011 of a second. It was always going to be close. It's so high speed, big slipstreaming, so many lanes around here. I don't know if like I-20 or Texas Motor Speedway has more lanes.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly out there, to be honest, especially when you had us going like 3-4 wide at points. But hey, look, credit to where it's due. Like, that's made it goes to show how good the iRacing track model is at the moment for the dynamic stuff, and especially on the oval racing. It's been really, really good to see you've got 4 different lanes that you can use and still be actually competitive instead of one lane washing up into the wall, or the one lane being like completely useless. So it's been really, really cool. It was actually really, really fun, but also at the same time very harrowing.
What about as we were approaching towards the final run of the race there, our longest green flag run, Ryan Jones had tyres that were kind of like 15-ish laps older than everyone else, and he just stuck it down the low line and down every straight, fed the slipstream to different drivers as he moved lanes. And there was a moment there I thought, surely some of you guys are going to get around him. What was happening there in that phase of the race?
For me in particular, I was just watching what JRT was telling me, to be honest, because I knew it was just going to be so line ball on fuel, and I knew that without saving you weren't going to make it. So it was like, just for me being cruisy, saving fuel, watching what the two in front were going to do, making sure there was going to be a hole for me to get around them if we got to the point where there was no caution at the end. But yeah, if it came to it, I would have just thrown around the outside. I knew my tyres were obviously in reasonable shape, so it was going to be just a matter of putting the foot down, throwing around the outside, and holding on for dear life, I guess.
Finding a bit of air all to your own looked pretty critical through the corners as well.
Yeah, with the current way the IndyCar aero model is, and especially with the way the time model is as well, it's all about getting clean air, because as soon as you get a bit of aero wash, you just end up with massive understeer, and then once you do that, you burn up the right front, and then once you burn up the right front, that's it. You've just got absolutely no front grip, even if you throw a weight checker at it. So, yeah, making sure you've got clean air in these cars at the moment is really, really important, and makes all the difference, being able to pass someone, or even get a run, or just being able to be able to save your tyres as well. So yeah, it's really, really critical. It makes it hard on these sort of tracks where you have a lot of lanes, but at the same time you've got everybody all looking for different bits of clean air. So if you're all the way down the back of the pack, you're going to struggle a little bit unless you can find your way by with some sort of pace. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Iowa, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens at a couple of the other tracks later in the season. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and so far it's been really, really good.
It certainly makes me look forward to Iowa. That could be very interesting. This is the first time we've been on the oval and not had different compounds pushed to pass, all of that. It's very strategic, very you're looking at your fuel numbers, you're looking at your track position and all of that. It's the same pieces for a very different game.
Oh, 100%. It's one of those things as you go, there's push to pass on road, yeah, but then there's fuel saving on oval, and also making sure you set up your moves properly, and then there's also your tyre compounds, but then you've got to save your tyres on oval, because you've only got that one set of compound that you've got to work with, which is the harder compound. So yeah, it's very interesting, and obviously there's each their own, having different things that you've got to worry about. But yeah, oval's very strategic, very much about being smart and smooth and not doing anything silly at this point, just with the fact you've got the tyres, the aero wash, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's added a big element of strategy and a big element of being able to think ahead and play the long game, but at the same time it's also made it really, really good as a result.
If Roger Penske was the US president in the 80s instead of Ronald Reagan, would the world be a better place?
That's a good question. I want to say yes, because then there'd be more motorsport.
There probably would be a bit more racing. Congrats. You fought all the way to the end. You were within that sort of roll of the dice against Tim Vaughan. You could have come away with the win, and you close up the championship regardless.
Yeah, 100%. That's what it is at the end of the day. There's still plenty of rounds to go, and there's still plenty of racing, so just got to keep chipping away at those points. Blocker didn't turn up today, which is helpful for everyone, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be hopefully more results like this going forward for the rest of the rounds, and we can move towards the front of the championship again, and hopefully we can walk away with a number 2.
I think today's blocker was Ryan Jones, so we'll see you out there again.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Looks like we have also found our position number 3 tonight, Hinzy. Congratulations, mate. Started your race in 12th, worked your way up through the race into 3rd at the end. Fantastic job, congratulations.
Thanks, Brady. Yeah, that was something. Yeah, I haven't done oval for a long time. I haven't done IndyCar oval for even longer. So yeah, that was, I forgot just how insane pack racing is in those cars on a sort of bigger oval like that. It's just, you just eyes on stalks the whole time, just trying to not run into the wall and get hit, basically. So yeah, I was just trying to survive for most of that, and then towards the end started trying to pick my way through, and yeah, sort of managed to be in the right spots to avoid the incidents. And then was there right at the end. Had to go at the win, but didn't quite get the run through 1 and 2 to be able to get it. But podium's better than I expected on this one, so I'll definitely take it.
Certainly kept us busy throughout the race. So much going on, especially when we got those longer green flag runs. Very intense pack racing. I think we seen just before that last caution, there was the top 15 separated by about a second and a half. So absolutely nothing in it. So what was the main challenge for you coming from obviously 3 road course rounds to start the season now to a massive 1.5 mile oval doing about 360 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, probably just as I say, just trying to remember how oval works, really. Less is more and all that. Just try not to burn off the front right and all that stuff. I noticed it towards the end of that last longer green flag, last run, because obviously me and a bunch of the others stayed out after, I think we pitted wherever it was, lap 89, wherever it was. And I did notice right towards the end of that last green flag run for the last safety car, I think I did burn the front right a little bit too much because it was starting to not really want to turn, despite the amount of weight, the weight jacker I was ramming into it. It wasn't really turning, so I was like, went a bit too much on that tyre. So yeah, just probably for the next ones, I'll just try and be a little bit kinder to the tyre, but we'll see how we go. It's as I say, I don't do ovals very much, so I'm just happy I got a decent result and didn't crash, to be honest. I'll just take that.
Well, the next round in 2 weeks' time, we won't have to worry about an oval because we're going to Spa-Francorchamps, so polar opposite track to what we were on tonight. So what are your expectations and thoughts heading into that one?
Yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully I'll do alright. I haven't driven the IndyCar in there ever. Cam was saying before it's similar to the F1 car, which makes sense. So if it's like that, that shouldn't be too bad then. Should be fun. Keen to see how we go. Hopefully I can keep the decent results going and just keep picking away at it and keep the results coming.
Once again, Hinzy, congratulations on your P3 tonight. Anyone you'd like to thank for that result?
Thanks, man. Just the usual HR crew are awesome. Always great support from them. Big thanks. Big thanks to Brant. I'll say that. I put the name on there for a reason. Brant Tucker, legend. Big thanks to you, my friend. And also you guys, that's why I put you guys on there too. And also obviously Dan and all the guys at AOG for running this series as well as they do. They run a tight ship, they made sure had all the rules up to date and everything for running this round as close to reality as possible, which was really good. So yeah, big thanks to them for running such a great series, and big thanks for you guys for putting on a great show.
Congratulations once again, mate, and hopefully we can talk to you next time out at Spa.
Thanks, man. See you.
David, that concludes our interviews as we look at our provisional championship standings. Timothy Vaughan 7 points in front of Thomas Hinz there for the championship, and for the 10 points back, Daniel Edmonds, and only 1 more point back to Cameron Deans in position number 4, and Adam Blocker still in position number 5 after missing a round. He missed round 1 as well, so fantastic for him to be that close in the championship points still.
Yeah, and he was very strong on some of those road courses like Barber, for example. So I think it is everyone's game. It's massively, massively close. And I mean, races like these, there was a big roll of the dice. There were quick drivers that just, they went this way on the strategy when others went that way, and they ended up out of position. Like Scott Rankin, who maybe could have been our winner today, but instead finished 11th. And then Bo Albert is 24th when he had some massive gains. So did Tyson Broad, for example, who led and then just didn't, come away with the win in the chaos that was racing at Texas Motor Speedway. So I think Spa-Francorchamps is a little more of the long game, the strategy, a little less reliant on the cautions falling your way and the traffic being clean. But there's always a level of jeopardy when you go IndyCar racing.
Yeah, 100%. We've seen that through the first 4 rounds of the season. And like you touched on, round number 5 at Spa on Tuesday, the 16th of April at 8:15 Standard Time. No more daylight savings then. So back to normal programming at 8:15 time. Thank you once again, Dave, for joining me in comms tonight. Obviously, Jay Kennedy behind the production booth, making it all happen behind the scenes. And obviously, thanks to AOG for bringing us round number 4 of Season 2 Fixed Indy Australia. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Spa.